I must tell you, I don't have a near-term answer. There's two things I could do. I could go in the petroleum reserve and take out and probably reduce the price of gas maybe 18 cents or so a gallon. It's still going to be above $3. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. There's a possibility to be able to bring it down. Depends on a little bit on Saudi Arabia and a few other things that are in the offing.
That's the guy who shut down a lot of domestic oil drilling that caused this crisis, and the fact that OPEC knows that they can push us around now. But hey, you know what? He's going to fix it all for us. Don't worry about it, folks. That was President Biden at a town hall this week, admitting he's really not sure about the rising gas prices. I mean, what is he sure of at this point? Now, since Biden has taken office, gas prices have surged over 42%. Some places in California, there was one place that reported $7.59 a gallon. Grocery stores also 4 or 5 point percentage surge in everything. I don't know if you bought a gallon of milk recently, but the murder rate also has a 9.9% rise. The nation is faced with a huge labor crisis. I mean, people aren't even looking for jobs anymore. So let's bring in our panel to discuss this. Today, we're joined by the Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. We appreciate you being here, sir. We're also joined by author and political analyst Mark Halpern. You can also catch his show Focus Group every weekend right here on Newsmax. Congressman, I want to go to you first on this. What do you make of these numbers?
You know what? It's troubling. First of all, the Biden administration, Carl, is saying that inflation is at 5.4%. But we know that fuel, as you just mentioned, is up 42%, and meat's up 12%. Used cars 24%, rental cars 43%, homes 13%, and Carl, bacon's up 19%.
Say it ain't so.
This is a bad old days of double-digit inflation, my brother.
Yeah, I mean, bacon. Do not mess with my bacon. Is the raw taste of freedom. Mark, this is going into, I mean, like, look, we're a year out from the midterms right now, and the usual litmus test is about a year. Do you see any of this coming back down in time for any hope for the Democrats to find any resolve in the keeping the House or Senate?
Good morning, Carl. First, let me associate myself with the words of the gentleman from Texas regarding bacon. I think that's a threat to our liberty. That is not really acceptable. Look, there's a bad cycle. The president inherited some problems. You pointed out at least one policy which has made it worse. In the face of inflation, they're trying to pass a massive new spending bill. So I think that if you're thinking about the timeline of the midterms, that's obviously something people watch. But we've got the Virginia gubernatorial election coming up, and we've also just got the state of the presidency. So if the president has a plan to lower gas prices, lower inflation, to deal with unemployment, yes, to deal with bacon, he's not made it clear what that is yet. And as you pointed out in that clip from that town hall, his rhetoric, his leadership style, I don't think is inspiring a lot of people to think that he's got a secret plan that he's just waiting to unveil. Yeah,
and he was standing there with his fists like this, just why I was like, what is this guy doing? It looked like he was trying to ride a horse. All right, so Congressman, you were obviously privy to this. Attorney General Merrick Garland, he was testifying, and he's changing his tune on this Capitol Hill hearings versus his stance. Take a listen to this.
I do not believe that parents who testify, speak, argue with, complain about school boards and schools should be classified as domestic terrorists or any kind of criminals. Parents have been complaining about the education of their children and about school boards since there were such things as school boards and public education. This is totally protected by the First Amendment.
Yeah, he says that now. I mean, well, we dodged a bullet not having him on the Supreme Court. But, I mean, Congressman, this is like totally 180 from the policy that he just released, coordinating with local law enforcement officers to potentially declare people like me domestic terrorists.
Well, Carl, not only you, myself, and pretty much everybody I know, we need to hold our school boards to account, of course, because at the end of the day, they work for us. We're their bosses. And I'm so tired of these school boards across the country reporting to the superintendents rather than actually conducting oversight on the superintendent and the school administrations. Domestic terrorists are named Timothy McVeigh and a bunch of folks that, belong to Antifa. Right. To have this administration kind of float that trial balloon that they're going to go after parents, and then they get the pushback, and then they think, maybe not. We might not want to go in that direction. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, obviously, no kidding. We want civic engagement, as you just said earlier on this program.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Mark, this is another thing. I mean, these are the local school boards. Look, I'm very vocal at my local school board. I'm an elected member of my town government, and it's run by Republicans, and they're just like, it's almost like they don't care about the children's education. And I've talked about it here on the show. They care about this image of power and control, and parents are really angry. So when you have an attorney general who comes out and says, I'm going to use the federal force to enforce our law, our standard on local, how does the federal government justify that?
Carl, there's obvious irony here, because a lot of what parents are upset about is they don't want a national sort of focus on their kids' education. They want that local control. We all want them to have the freedom, the ability to weigh in, and to have the federal government say, we're going to use our power at this local level. I think that's just going to compound the anger. That's one of the major political forces in America right now, is parents across the political spectrum want to take back some control. You see it in the Virginia governor's race as a huge issue. I will say, though, Carl, I just want to make another point. I don't think any of us want to see local school board officials threatened, threatened physical violence. And so someone has to step in. But I think probably the attorney general now sees, in the American tradition, you don't want the federal government coming in and trying to be the countervailing force there. That should be handled like most things, 10th Amendment, local level.
Yeah, I don't really want the federal government telling me anything what to do, but don't tell me what to do. Congressman Pat Fallon, Mark Halpern, stick around. We'll be right back with you in a sec. So still ahead, we got a big walk back from the Biden administration as Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen offers an alternative to the frightening plan to spy on your money over $600. That when Saturday Report comes back. Welcome back. Congressional Democrats revised this horribly egregious proposal for bank account tax reporting from $600 to $10,000 in these new annual transactions recording process, with the exception of wage earners. Of course, there's always exceptions. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen welcomed the proposal after critics said the $600 limit was too invasive. You think? But $10,000 really, is that far enough for, removed for the average American? Let's bring back our panel. Representative Pat Fallon of Texas. We're also joined by best-selling author and political analyst Mark Halpern. Folks, Congressman, I like to think that my money, the stuff I earn and then I pay taxes on, that then goes into my bank account, is in fact mine, and I can do whatever I want with it. And when the government was like, hey, what did you do with that $601 thing? I can say, pound sand.
Well, Carl, is it 2021 or is it 1984? I mean, this is Orwellian overreach. And what a lot of people need to understand is raising the limit from 600 to 10,000. That's not per transaction. It's per annual activity. So most Americans, the overwhelming majority of Americans, move money around to the tune of over 10 grand. I mean, just living your life and spending the money. It's, as you said, it's yours. And what money really represents is, your hard labor and your hard work. And it's yours. It's absolutely about freedom.
Right.
And we do not want Biden looking over our shoulder every dang day in every moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And Mark, you tend to do a lot more reading than I do because, I don't read too good. But you've looked into this kind of thing. And my question is kind of like, let's say it goes to 10 grand and I take out $10,001 or put in $10,001. What happens at that point? Are you in trouble? Do they just call you? What's next?
First of all, Carl, to be clear, most of my reading is pop up and scratch and sniff. So it's still reading, but of a particular kind. Look, this provision is still being worked on. And look, we've seen in the last few years, Americans distrust the IRS. They don't want more power given to that agency. Mm-hmm. And in this case, they floated a policy. They've revised it. I wouldn't be surprised if they revised it again for just the reason you said. You're always going to have dollar limits. But this isn't to punish people. In theory, it's to just make sure people are paying what they're supposed to pay, doing what they're supposed to do. But everybody needs to be worried when a powerful agency like the IRS is given more power. And I think part of the Biden administration problem, substantive and political, is they're too cavalier. We talked about a different example last segment. They're too cavalier about expanding the reach of the federal government. If they're going to do it, they need to defend it, explain it, and convince people it's the right thing. They haven't done that here.
Yeah. So, I mean, Congressman, though, I mean, me, because I like to, just kind of poke the bear a little bit. If this goes into effect, I'm going to take out $10,001. I'm going to put it back in. I might put back in $11,000. I might take out $12,000. And then when they call me, I'm going to say, that's none of your darn business. I mean, is that wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. It's your money, as you just said. But what the other parts of this provision, the other parts of this law that proposed legislation that scare me are they want to hire an additional, I think it's 9,000 more IRS agents. We don't need more IRS agents.
We need less.
What we need to do is spur the economy so there's a free flow of an exchange of goods and services.
Yeah.
So the federal government, when that happens, federal government and the revenue goes up.
Yeah. I mean, it seems simple enough. I mean, it's almost like you know what you're talking about. Mark, when you have this gross expansion of government, I mean, tell me again the time that the people monitoring people and reaching into their pockets and their bank accounts and their bedrooms and their living rooms, tell me when in history those guys have been the good guys that have worked out better for a country.
Maybe the USSR. They were heroes there, government.
Yeah, where are they now?
Look,
that's right.
Exactly. Look, we need to have an IRS. We need to have some way to collect taxes. But this isn't just making political points. This is the will of a lot of the American people. They're distrustful of government. And I'll say again, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican administration, if you're going to expand the powers of an agency like the IRS, you can't do it like this. You need to educate people, and you need to win the war of ideas and say this is a good idea. Until they do that, the mistrust is going to exist. And if inflation keeps going like it's going, Carl, it's going to cost you about $11,000 to buy bacon.
Yeah, and if we allow this expansion, we're going to end up like what we got with the post office that has a SWAT team now. I bet people didn't even know that. Congressman Pat Fallon with his name on a wall behind him. That's how you know you made it, sir. And Mark Halperin, thank you for joining me. We appreciate it.
Good morning to you, bud.
All right.